Peak XV Fitness. So I'm going to argue why you should ditch the sandwich as your lunchtime meal. The ubiquitous sandwich, it's as if our nation's lunchtime would fall apart without this staple of bread and butter. However, our thirst for this easily accessible and reliable meal is costing us our health. And I'm going to throw it out there. Sandwiches are junk food. Why? Well, for many reasons. Number one, bread contains gluten, and gluten is one of the most common food intolerances that people eat. And food intolerances create inflammation that destroys your gut and sensitizes your immune system. Now, when I put people on a gluten-free diet, they immediately lose weight. And most of the time it's that water weight that creates swelling and inflammation around their bowels and gives them that bloated pooch belly. Number two, the fillings found in these mass-produced sandwiches are full of processed foods, and recent research has pointed out that processed foods contain cancer-causing chemicals. Now, I once used to work in a sandwich making factory when I was a teenager, and I can tell you all sorts of stories that went on. We'd pick food up off the floor, we'd take food out of the bins at the end of the conveyor belts to put back in the sandwiches. It's just bad hygiene, so I would avoid these packaged sandwiches you find in high street stores and motorway service stations and in garages. I'd avoid them like the plague. And then lastly, sandwiches are generally made with margarine. And margarine is a chemically altered toxic fat. Now, another friend of mine used to work in a margarine making factory when he was a teenager, and they would take oil and hydrogenate it to make it into this semi-solid room temperature substance. But unfortunately, this substance was grey and dull and lifeless and devoid of any nutrition. So they have to pump, or they have to put back into it yellow dyes, nutrients, preservatives, and deodorants as well, because this stuff was just rancid fat. So I would avoid processed foods such as margarines. So how can you improve your food that you eat at lunch or whilst you're out at work? Well, you simply need a bit of planning and preparation, and then with this planning and preparation you can make healthy, nutritious meals every time. Now, base your working lunches around these 5 rules. Rule number 1, protein. Always choose protein first in your meal. Now, this can be leftover meat from the weekend roast, it can be cold cuts from the previous evening's cooking, or it can be some tinned fish. However, avoid processed sandwich meat like the plague. This stuff has got preservatives in it, they put wheat in it, it's got all sorts of stuff in it. Now, aim for a good 100-150 gram serving of roast beef, roast chicken, roast lamb, some tinned fish, hard-boiled eggs, or some goat's cheese, for instance. Rule number 2, vegetables. These should be mainly raw, and then you can include all kinds of salad leaves and salad fillers such as carrots and radishes, blanched asparagus, avocado, tomato, beetroots, olives. Make these vegetables the bulk of your lunchbox for your lunch. Now, rule number 3, have some starch. This should form a smaller part of your lunch, and it can add a little bit of bulk to your meal. And remember, you don't have to have starch, but it adds some variety. Now, this starch should come in the form of predominantly gluten-free, so it could be a quinoa risotto, a seeded brown rice, bean cakes, lentil dal, spicy chickpeas, new potatoes, a rice cake, or some buckwheat pasta. Rule number 4, add sprinkles onto your lunch. These can add taste, texture, and a bit of variety to the meal. Now, this could be toasted seeds, nuts, parsley, spring onions, chives, mint, capers, sun-dried tomatoes, artichokes, something for a bit of flavour and variety. And then step number 5 is use dressings and condiments, but ditch the ketchup and the lashings of mayo. Instead, use healthy oils, nut butters, seed butters, and lemons as dressing to add that zing. It could be some salsa, some hummus, tahini, a bit of pesto, some lemons or limes, or different oils of vinegar. Now, to make your meal, simply take 1 or 2 pieces of food from each of those 5 rules. So you would pick a source of protein. You might have some strips of beef from the night before, and you might just have some carrot and celery crudités. And then you could put a little bit of quinoa risotto in at the side. You might want to put some toasted seeds in there, or some spring onion, and a little bit of hummus. So that's 1 or 2 foods from each of those rules, and that will make you a healthy, nutritious lunch. So if you want to find out more about how you can improve your health and your fitness, you can visit www.peakxvfitness.com. You'll find a whole host of information. You can download a free Weight Loss Secrets Revealed report. You can follow us on Facebook and on Twitter.